St. Daniel of the parking lot, help me find a parking spot. Is you is or is you not? St. Daniel of the parking lot. Greetings, my friends. It has been such a long time since I've been here. I reviewed the YouTube from last week where Mr. Fingers, Joe Fingers, said I pitched a fit and decided not to come here until the noise situation was remedied. That is not completely the truth. So, before I explain further about this misunderstanding, I do want to respond to the desire for convenient parking. I am getting a message from the other world that someone is requesting parking. So let us help that person get this parking. Remember, provided that this person has a good heart and is willing to help other people with their parking problems, if they meet that requirement, they will have convenient parking in just about 30 seconds. So, St. Daniel of the parking lot, help me find a parking spot. Is you is or is you not? St. Daniel of the parking lot. This person is a good person. This person is a generous person. This person wants to help others find convenient parking. It's locked and loaded and ready to go. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you do not have time to say the full and complete prayer for the request of a parking lot, all you have to do is use the shorthand version, S.P. lot. That will provide the parking that you need, desire, and should have. I mean, it's not only what you deserve, it's what you've earned. You've earned the right to convenient parking. Okay, I don't even want to mention anymore about the noise factor that seems to be the reason why I wasn't here. I did not pitch a fit. Joe Fingers, Joefingas, Joe Fingers told you all I pitched a fit because of the static, because of the feedback. The electronic feedback or the ethereal feedback, depending on your story. The ether feedback, I don't know if it was St. Daniel. I don't know if it was some kind of glitch in the technical gear. All I know is I did not throw a fit. I continued to pursue my message for that day, which is that St. Daniel is here for your parking. Now, I have received some letters, email letters, text letters, snail mail letters in the mail saying, what's the big deal about finding a parking spot in a parking lot? What's the big deal? Why are you making a church about this? Well, I'm going to tell you, this is a more serious situation than some people are led to believe. First of all, in the prank category, all you'll have to do is look up parking spot revenge on Google, and you get all kinds of how-to YouTube videos. Someone kept stealing this guy's 1,200 pound, I mean, as in English pound, sterling pounds or whatever you call it in Great Britain, 1,200 pound parking spot. So he got revenge, and then it outlines how he got revenge. What is the best parking spot revenge? That's another thing on Google. How do you handle someone stealing your parking spot? And that's a question to which there was no suitable reply. All it was revenge is sweet in the name of revenge. It didn't even matter the circumstance. And 10 brilliant revenge ideas for parking idiots. Drive Tribe. The guy couldn't believe someone stole his parking spot, so he bought some, I don't know, maybe a gun for hire. How do I know? Because I want to go right here. Parking spot. Revenge gone crazy. Let's see right here. Here in Philadelphia, a man was killed outside, and I won't mention the place, over a parking spot. Shooting at a venue results in serious injury. Argument over parking spot led to a shooting that killed a father, and apparently his son witnessed this shooting. So, New York Times article. New York Times. I don't always refer to New York Times as my number one go-to reference, but I am going to tell you they have highlighted this. Okay. Police officer convicted of killing man over parking. And New York Times has various and sundry articles about the problem of parking lot mayhem, beatings, and death. How about that? That is some serious stuff. St. Daniel at the parking lot would be a little more profane, but since this is technically a church service, I am going to refrain from four-letter words other than stuff, and I'm not referring to any kind of drug when I'm mentioning stuff. Though I do want to recommend the Mark Maron podcast. That's one of our not paid sponsors. They don't pay anything. I'm just going to recommend Mark Maron's podcast because he has some really good characters on his podcast show, which I've enjoyed for quite a while. Okay, so one of the things there is that, and they talk about solutions, and it's basically systemic and societal solutions, which has nothing to do with the spiritual malady that is plaguing people looking for convenient parking. Because when we spend our time trying to gain revenge over somebody who is a sneaky parker or a piggy parker or a malevolent I'm going to sneak in here and push you out of the way kind of parker, and we're just concentrating on revenge and not forgiveness. There's no charitable action pursuing this notion that by God we have limited parking and we are going to do everything we can to claim our right to that parking space. We're very territorial. When, if you take the St. Daniel of the parking lot frame of reference, you understand that it goes from purely physical to metaphysical, and that St. Daniel can shift time, perception, movement, gravity, everything to make sure that you get your parking spot, as long as you're willing to forgive the person who stole your parking spot. This is a church for a saint. He's a man. He's not divine. He's not a deity. He's a man. He walked the earth. And there was a time where he had a hard time walking the earth, but he continued to walk the earth with his walker. And he basically allowed himself to be spent completely in finding the proper system by which a person can park conveniently. And you have to have the right temperament and the right frame of humility. I'm just getting really wordy here. I'm feeling the call to play a song. There we go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I walk with spirits. They guide my hand as we get near it. Promised land. My brothers, my sister, we are not alone. I walk with spirits. They take me home. I walk with spirits. They have my ear. Speak, I hear it. The message clear. Don't cry for family. Don't cry for self. There's a world we know it. There is something else. Yeah. Spirits to the spirit world. I come undone like a flag unfurled, like a guess who's song back when he was a sheep. I walk with spirits and glimpse eternity. I walk with spirits. I'm back on track. I walk with spirits. They got my back. I walk with spirits to my spirit place. I walk with spirits at a steady pace. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Walk, yeah. I walk with spirits to my spirit place. They shake their rattles, blow smoke in my face. Them vile poison pearls. I walk with to my spirit land. I'm changed forever by a mojo hand. I find my totem, my gree side. I walk with spirits, and I'm coming back. Yeah, 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 yeah. I walk with spirits. I walk with spirits. They guide my hand. So I get nearer the promised land. The promised land paved in asphalt and painted with white and yellow and blue stripes, sometimes with that figure of the wheelchair person in the middle. Now, some people think that St. Daniel of the parking lot is just a saint for parking parking spots, convenient parking. But like I told you before, he is also the saint for trivial items. Or maybe if they're not so trivial, for people that some folks think are trivial. People who are impoverished, people who are homeless, people who suffer from mental and physical illness. Saint Daniel is the saint for them. He will ease whatever burden. He will provide them for whatever they are looking for. That's where he came up with the shorthand version of St. Daniel of the parking lot. Help me find a parking spot. S.P. lot. I mean, there's so much to talk about in this day and age where everything is a crisis and everything is important. In so many places, so many people feel endangered that we have to understand. Well, we don't have to understand it. I guess we don't, because we are not understanding how significant, safe, convenient, and comfortable parking is. When we have people concentrating on revenge, we know what happens with revenge. I know what happens with revenge. Somebody steals a parking spot. You don't necessarily take it out on that person who stole the parking spot. I start to think, I'm going to talk about myself. I'm not going to talk about you. This is why I became a minister for this church. The Church of St. Daniel of Parking Lot Saints is because I suffered from this revenge syndrome. And it wasn't the people who actually did me harm. I took that malice, I took that resentment, and anytime it looked like I could snatch a parking space from somebody else, I snatched it because someone else had done that to me. I perpetuated the cycle, the syndrome I didn't understand. And I'd laugh and I'd talk like revenge was sweet, but there was nothing sweet about it. It was acid. It was like acid reflex up my spiritual throat out into the world. I don't know how else to say it. It was ugly. I did not like the way I lived. I almost hurt somebody seriously. It wasn't with a weapon, unless you want to call my automobile a weapon. I was this close to running that person over just because they got out of the car laughing at me because they stole the parking spot and they gave me the finger. The bird, they flipped the bird. Like Joe Fingers has a t-shirt with him flipping the bird at everybody. And it's just Joe Fingers in his picture there. They're for sale for $20 a piece. all kinds of sizes, usually black background with a white silhouette of a man flipping you the bird. And it's Joe Fingers t-shirt. You can get one for $20 when Joe Fingers comes up. Or you can go to his YouTube channel, which is here. Don't forget to subscribe, because even though we don't like each other, we are cooperating and working with each other. I'm doing this to spread the message. Joe Fingers doing it just for whatever little kind of piddly, small-minded ambition he has. Let him tell you about it, which he won't. He's going to make it sound. Oh, anyway, I'm in church. I shouldn't be talking this way. I should save that for my own confession. But anyway, where am I? Oh, yeah, parking lot. I almost ran a guy over. And that was my moment of truth. Well, actually, as I almost ran this guy over, a woman hit my car with a parking basket. She looked like a homeless woman. I was making that assumption, mentally when I saw her, because she looked like she had fallen upon hard times and had a market basket full of stuff it didn't look like you got from the store. But she pointed her finger to me and said, "If you don't stop this, you'll be going to hell." And it was my revelation that I needed to stop treating people the way I was treating them. Here I was almost running over an ugly little man because he did an ugly little thing. But did that give me the right to kill him? For a moment, I thought so. For a moment, I thought back and tried to justify every circumstance in which I could kill this person and go away not feeling bad about it. But that would not be right. And if it wasn't for that old homeless woman, my assumption, she might not have been homeless. If it wasn't, and she might not have been old. She could have been a lot younger than she looked, but she looked old. That old woman pointing her finger at me, telling me I was going to hell. I'll tell you, I'm going to have to tell you what I thought. I thought, holy shit, I'm going to hell. Holy shit, I'm going to hell. How am I going to change my ways? How am I going to change my ways? So that was my first attempt to minister. I thought I had to start a church, not a church for somebody else, a church because of my revelation being that, holy shit, I'm going to hell. So I got myself a charter, you can send away for it. I got a charter for a church. And I called it the first, what do you call it? Well, it wasn't the first. I don't know if it is the first. Oh, yeah, I just called it simply the Church of the Holy Shit. That's what I called it, Church of the Holy Shit. Now, I knew right away that some people would be thinking I was blaspheming, but I thought if I told the story about the revelation being honest and pure, and it was an honest, pure revelation, that everybody would understand. Well, even the 3 or 4 people who showed up week after week at my regularly scheduled Sunday 10 a.m. meetings held at my storage unit, because I had, for lack of a better place to have it, they would show up. And they weren't impressed when I told them the story. They looked at me kind of strange. And then my collection was, I thought, very generous, very magnanimous. I wasn't looking for anything for myself, I told them. And I said, how many televangelists have told you I'm not looking for anything for myself? And then the next thing they do is tell you about money. And I told them I'm truly, tell you about what you need to do with your money. And I'm truly not looking for anything for myself, I tell them. But then you know what happens about a half hour later, because it's patterned on a church service, I had to have a collection. So what was I going to do? And here's what I did. I thought it was a great idea. I said, okay, there was about 4 people sitting, next to each other on these folding chairs, metal chairs. I made some room between the boxes in my storage unit and the old piano I had to play, old piano church music. And there it was. And they were sitting there, and I told them that now that you're here at this church of the HS, I told them I was just going to call it Church of the H period S period, use initials so they wouldn't get upset. The Church of the HS, you know, at least it was an HMS, so they wouldn't get confused and wonder where the English ship was, you know. So anyway, I told them to dig deep into their pockets, pull out their wallet, open up their wallet and take all the money out. And they're nodding their heads saying, he said he was different. He's not different. I know he's the same. And then I said, take that money and turn to the person to your left and give them that money. And the number 4 person to the left said, there's nobody to my left. What do I do? And I said, you keep it. Jackpot. Put it in your pocket. You got all the money. You got all the money. And then your job next week is to come back, sit to the number 1 seat on the right, and then you give the next person all your money, and the person at the very end of the right of the row will have all the money for that week. And then they come back and do it over again. Well, they came up after the sermon and said, we'd much rather give it to you, the minister. And I said, I won't take it. I said, my sermon was lousy. You didn't like the way I talked. You thought I blasphemed. At the very least profane. I don't deserve your money. They say, well, okay, you're right. And then they went out and they jumped the guy with all the money. And they took the money. They took the money and they kind of split it up, except they didn't leave the number 4 guy with any money. They thought it was fair play that they'd have his money because he didn't get to give it to anybody. They just took it. Now, the good thing is that none of those people had cars. They didn't have cars. And so as a consequence, except for one of them had a bicycle, so I guess it could have been a bike ride or a bike rack thing, you know, where it was an overcrowded bike rack. Believe me, I rode a bike for years, and I know sometimes those bike racks over at the supermarket get kind of crowded. And I didn't know about St. Daniel then. In fact, this is how I knew about St. Daniel, is that I got in my car because I had a car. It was still scratched up. It was a hoopty. What the kids back then called a hoopty. With the rear window was all smashed out because somebody thought I might have something of value, and they smashed in the windows, I guess, to get it, or they just didn't like my looks and decided to destroy my one piece of property. I happened to be sleeping in that car at the time, and so I went to find a place to park. I went over to Walmart. Boom. It was the same lady. She hit me with that car. She hit me with her cart. She hit my car with her shopping cart. Boom, just like that. And she went over to the driver's side of the window, and I said, lady, what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you, following me? Are you stalking me? She said, no, I'm trying to talk to you. You didn't listen to me. That was the dumbest name for a church ever. What I want you to understand is if you want to find a peaceful place in which you can park your car for the night and not have anybody, even this old lady, bang into your car with her shopping cart full of garbage, you're going to have to turn your will in your life over to the desire to help other people find parking and to help them find parking. As a result, you will have a parking space. It will be basically certified and attributed to St. Daniel of the parking lot. And I said, who's that? And she proceeded to explain the story, which I'm going to, deal out in portions as we go along. There's all kinds of stories about St. Daniel, both profane, hilarious, and sacred. And I want to be able to have time enough to share all those stories with you all. And I don't want to do it today because it would be going on until tomorrow night. But that lady taught me I was going to hell. And then that lady taught me that the way out of hell, at least temporarily, is to find convenient and comfortable parking. And the only way to do that is through St. Daniel of the parking lot. Remember, St. Daniel, out of the two thumbs, there are only will there ever be one thumb down. And at the best of times, there will always be, the best of times, always two thumbs up. Though sometimes one thumb down, never two thumbs down. Let us pray. People, you can't always find the answer on Google, because there was a question that asked what can be done by parking spot rage. They went through all the psychological jargon. No one mentioned the man who must be mentioned in these hard times for parking, in these times of practical jokes and murder, in these times where everybody needs to keep a cool head, the coolest head in the world is not of this world. It's in the other world. It's in the afterlife. Oh, it's in the after strife. Spot for me. I am desperate, hear my plea. Find a parking lot for me. Find a parking spot for me. Please, Daniel, please. Remember, sometimes no human power can prevent you from parking spot rage. It will not help you to get mad. You will not get your parking spot had. What you need to do is turn to a higher authority, not a God, but a saint, an ecumenical saint. A saint for everybody, even for people who say he ain't a saint. St. Daniel. Thank you all very much for attending this service. You will be amply rewarded.